Washington Governor Bob Ferguson says he is ready to support the state's first ever income tax. After criticizing proposals earlier in the week, he says that he will sign the latest one. Our Olympia Bureau Chief Drew Mickelson joins us now to explain what changed the governor's mind, Drew.
Yeah, Joyce, this is big news. Just on Tuesday, we were talking about the governor telling us that he, quote, wasn't close to signing this income tax, but that bill got amended. It changed, and this morning, the governor changed his mind, his opinion, and he decided to endorse it. This tax would still hit households making more than $1 million a year, but the latest amendment calls for an increase in tax breaks. And that was key for Governor Ferguson. Nearly 500,000 additional households would become eligible for the state's Working Families Tax Credit. That's a system that sends out checks directly from the state to taxpayers. The bill calls for free lunch and breakfast for all K through 12 students. It also eliminates the sales tax on over-the-counter medicines, and it boosts funding for childcare and early learning. In a written statement, Ferguson said, quote, "I'm glad to say the latest floor amendment to this bill achieves these critical goals and will help make our state more affordable. I will sign this version of the bill." So now it has to pass off the House floor and then go to the Senate for debate and a vote again. So it's not a done deal, but I did speak with some of the leaders from both the House and Senate, the Democratic Party leaders. Representative April Berg, who made this amendment deal, said that she was absolutely sure that she had the votes to pass it out of the House. I got a statement from Senator Jamie Peterson, the Senate Majority Leader. He said this was good news, great news, I should say, to come from the governor's office. So folks who are pushing for this income tax feel like this was a big step and a big victory, but we've still got a few days to go. The session wraps up Thursday, and we'll see what happens by then. Live in Olympia, Drew Mickelson, King 5 News.
Drew, thank you. So just a few more days before it would become a done deal. Let's take a deeper dive into this so-called millionaire's tax. Joining us is retired State Senator Reuven Carlyle. Always grateful that you're here with us.
Thank you.
Okay, so the governor wanted a certain version of this bill. Turns out he got it. So what does the House version do exactly?
Yeah, in the last 6 days of the session, the governor and legislative leaders got in a room and they hammered out a deal. And the deal, as Drew went through in detail, provides additional benefits in terms of the Working Families Tax Credit, all of those other issues. But they really were not that far apart. So in the broader context, they moved together very closely and wrapped it up in these last few days. And they've got the votes.
You were pretty confident that this was going to make its way.
I did. I think they weren't that far apart. I mean, the unfortunate aspect of it is that they're doing sort of this new source of revenue, and they're not really doing big structural tax reform as a part of it. So it's really a new source of revenue.
And let's talk about this, because lawmakers are counting on this tax revenue. Yeah. So what happens if, say, the courts or voters overturn it and the money disappears? Yeah. What happens then?
That's the $3 billion a year question. That's exactly right. I mean, that is, I think, the shaky part of this is that they're booking the revenue and they're spending the money before the courts have weighed in and potentially the voters have weighed in. So it's a real gamble, and it takes effect in 2028 for money in the door by 2029. And that is a really questionable budget process.
Yeah, spending money you don't have yet.
That's right.
We all know that
That's
rule,
right.
theoretically. Okay, Republicans warned this could open the door to a state income tax. So what options will voters have, and do you expect more political fighting around this?
You can see a little bit of frustration from the Republicans because, they've been arguing that this is incredibly unpopular if it goes below $1 million, but the Democrats stopped amendments to try to put in state law that it can't go beyond lower than $1 million. So at the same time, Democrats don't seem to be punished politically at the ballot box. Last year, $9 billion tax increase, the largest in state history, another $3 billion a year this time in income tax. So, the Republican brand, I think, is struggling in Washington State, and ultimately we'll see how it plays out. But there is a real open question politically about the courts dealing with the issue and then potentially the voters.
Okay, let's talk about some other issues. There is part of the bill is impacting non-competes.
Yeah.
What exactly does that say? What will it do?
Yeah, so non-competes, of course, affect a lot of people. Healthcare, doctors and nurses.
Media.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of finance industry, you know, investors. So ultimately, this outlaws non-competes in Washington State. There are some qualifications in a couple of different industries. If you're an independent contractor, you know, in some fields, you get a 1099 instead of an employee as a W-2. About a $317,000 limit. So, but vast majority of non-competes agreements under this bill by Representative Liz Berry from Queen Anne Hill in the 36th district would outlaw non-competes. And there are other states that have this. So the high-tech industry and others will adjust, but it's going to be a real change.
That's a game changer.
It's a game changer for a lot of people.
Industries all across, medicine and others, as you mentioned.
That's right.
Okay, what else is close to either passing or failing in these final few days?
Final couple days, or, you know, there's another bill that regulates how the state and the county and the city can use your license tag that they get from tolls. And you can imagine there's concerns about ICE and the federal government taking that data. But also, this really brought together Democrats and Republicans, left and right, worried about privacy and worried about how that data is used. So strong regulation on that front. It looks like it's coming.
All right, 4 more days.
Yeah.
We'll see what actually gets through
Right.
all the way.
All the way.
Reuven Carlyle, always grateful to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Of course.